What is going on, guys? The Real Sharif M here, aka Mangana Steel, and I am here with a long overdue video. It is the latest in I Designed a Knife series. As you guys have seen, I've been doing a series of videos where I go through an overview of knives that I've designed that have hit the market, and now it's time to tackle one of actually my more popular designs, and it has been really the gateway, I have to say, for people to get introduced to me and my design philosophy and my approach. So you may be wondering, what knife am I talking about? And that is the Kubey Momentum. Yes, this is the most budget knife that I have on the market, and they're starting at around $35. I think they go up to like $55, $56, but they are an affordable workhorse knife that have been very popular on the market, if I'm 100% honest. So let me kind of switch it up. I'm going to grab this guy over here, get the top-down view going, and let's dive into it. Let me share with you a little bit of the background of it, the history of it, and my design philosophy as to how did the knife come to be the way that it is versus anything else on the market. So let me switch the camera around and we'll get right into it. Now, before I forget, please guys, I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I need your help to get there. Really, any, new subscribers, I really appreciate you. It genuinely helps the channel grow, and really, I love the feedback and interaction that we've been having on my videos. So please, if you're new here, click subscribe. It means the world to me. And if you dig the video, hit that like button and drop a comment below. It genuinely helps with the algorithm, and really stuff in the knife and gun kind of sphere has been really trampled on by these social media companies. So I would definitely appreciate that support. Alright guys, we've got the sexy mic going, we've got the camera view, and here is the Kubey Momentum. This is kind of your bog standard version with black G10 scales and D2 steel here. Now, before you groan about the D2 steel, let me tell you, there's actually about like 7 or 9 different versions of this knife actually available now, and the D2 is slowly being phased out for AUS 10. So if you do want to save a little bit of money, you can get the D2 version, and between you and me, I actually like D2. I guess I'm in the minority there. It has proven, particularly like Kubey's D2, has proven to be very rust resistant and takes a beating. But if you do not like D2, there are AUS 10 versions of every single one of these, and the D2 goes for like $34, $35 to like $40. The AUS 10 is around $50, $56. Don't you dare pay $1 over that, though. You absolutely shouldn't. But there's a ton of different versions. There's coated blade with jade G10, coated blade with green G10. We have like camo and uncoated blades. There's now a red and black. So black coated blade, black hardware, and spicy red. Actually, you know what? I have one in the package here. This is a gift for my buddy Matisfaction. But here you can at least get an idea of the combo. And this is an AUS 10 blade. So if you dig the red, definitely this is for you. And I think these are still available at White Mountain Knives right now. So if you're interested, head over there. Use one of the usual YouTuber codes, and you can get it for like 10% off or whatever. But anyways, so this is the Momentum, and this is one of my earlier knife designs. And originally I envisioned it, as I do with all of my knives, to be kind of like a premium knife. Titanium scales, milled pocket clip, you know, all of that stuff. But when you are starting out as a knife designer, the companies are not always sure that your name is going to carry a premium version. So they start you off with a more sort of budgetary option, hence the G10 and D2/AUS 10. Now, that's okay by me. I'm totally all right. That's part of playing the game. And this is what we ended up with, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful compromise. Everything that I wanted in the original design is still here, as far as like blade shape, handle shape, you know, even I expect that the edges of the knife should be radiused versus contoured like on my GRAZIOSO, but they translated that really beautifully here, and it makes for an exceptionally comfortable knife. And honestly, from the premium version to this, I think we achieved something really, really nice here. We turned this into an EDC work knife. And I think this is an excellent sort of combination for an EDC work knife. And I'm sure that's what a lot of you use this for. And of course, with Kubey, we have this just amazing action right out of the box. I have not modified this. I have not done anything to it. And I've been pretty brutal with it, to be honest with you. As many of you know, I use all of my knives with the exception of maybe one. At some point in time, almost all of my knives get used. If they don't get used, I sell them. Just because if it's not going to be of use to me, what's the point of keeping it, essentially? So anyways, really, I'm very happy with the results of my collaboration here with Kubey. And yeah, man, let me dive into a little bit of the backstory with this. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the front flipper element, the blade shape and handle shape, and kind of what I think this is best to use for. Okay? So the backstory of the Momentum was that it was originally a design intended for Tuya knife, right? If you guys know Tuya, they designed the Envy 1, 2, and 3. They have the Hive, I believe, and a few other knives. And at the time, front flippers were really sort of at the beginning of their popularity. And there weren't very many manufacturers who were making them. So I had limited exposure to them, but the one thing that I did see consistently in the ones that I used, as well as the reviews that were going out there, was that front flippers were a pain in the butt to actuate. In the beginning, they were not quite as simple as what we have now. And it took a while of designers and manufacturers kind of figuring out the right combo. And so my goal was to achieve one of the easiest front flippers the industry had ever seen. And I think I'm actually very successful in doing so. One of the keys of doing a really good front flipper, in my opinion, and it's really become industry standard now, is taking the jimping all the way to the very end. This was not very common in the beginning, believe it or not, actually. People would put jimping here, but they wouldn't put it at the very tip of the flipper tab. And they really wanted the jimping to coincide with your thumb placement when the knife was open, but they didn't think about the traction necessary at the top of the flipper. And So that was something that I set out to do right from the onset. Just have this immense surface area just all covered in jimping. The other thing that I noticed was that a lot of people were trying to use front flippers with more traditional sort of shapes here, right? Let's use the GRAZIOSO as an example, right? So they would have this little front flipper tab sticking out right past here, but then they would have this peak. And the problem is you have a very limited window to exert torque over the blade before this little flipper tab here would then disappear into this area. And as you can see, like with a traditional flipper, you have torque all the way to the point where the blade is fairly far open, right? But that was not happening with front flippers. So after a lot of different mock-ups, what I realized was that the easiest way to do a front flipper well was to curve this section of the blade in accordance with the natural movement of the rotation of your thumb, right? So my front flipper is actually one of the only front flippers that you can actually slow roll using the front flipper. And that made it very easy for anybody with any amount of front flipper experience to actually use this. And I tested that with my dad and a few other people, right? This is very easy to do because your thumb, the ridge of your thumb right here, this little kink, can actually follow and use this as a ledge to rotate on and keep complete control of that flipper. Show me another front flipper that you can slow roll like that. I'm pretty dang sure I am the only one, and the Momentum is the only one you can do that with. And that was very, very important to me. So really, that was a key element of the design, right? The other elements of the design that were really important to me was this really, really nice broad blade shape with tons of belly, you know? I like a good usable work knife. I mean, I really dig knives like the Native, right? Or the the Para 3, you know, not the PM2, but essentially that leaf sort of blade shape with this nice continuous curve. The problem that I have with knives like the Native and the Para 3 is when you get a 4-finger grip, you actually end up with a very, very small blade to actually use. Now, granted, like the handle is fairly short, right? But it's a 3-finger knife. But with this finger choil that's here, especially for my hands, it's a must in order to have good blade control. Otherwise, I'm so far backed off from the edge here that it's like awkward to use. It feels like I'm taking a knife and holding it back here, you know? So if you actually look at knives like the Native, sorry, I bumped the camera here. When you take the choil into consideration, the overall length is pretty similar here, right here, to the Momentum. And that was intentional, right? These things are now butt to butt. They're lined up. And the end of this choil is right about where this ends, right here on the Momentum. But now look, if I line them up again, butt to butt, look how much more blade area you get out of the Momentum. And that was completely intentional. That was absolutely and completely intentional, because one of the things that does bother me really with a lot of Spydercos with the finger choil is you end up sacrificing overall blade length. It's one of my biggest issues with the PM2. It's one of my issues with the Para 3 and the Native, right? I don't want a finger choil to cut off my total blade area. And it's just something that I've learned as I've continued designing knives, and why you don't see a lot of finger choils in my knives, right? Or if I do have them, like I do in the Grazioso, I try to do them as subtly as possible, really, because I want the maximum blade area that I can get for any given knife. It's just what I found as a personal preference of mine. So with this guy, I wanted this really nice, long, continuous belly, broad blade shape with a really nice, high primary bevel, you know, and this would attribute to good slicing performance and good usability in a range of situations. And of course, as is my way, I included a bit of a harpoon. Now, a harpoon for me serves kind of two purposes. One, I just think it's sexy. I'm not going to lie. I think harpoons make a knife look infinitely better. But two, it's a bit of a thumb stop when you're holding the knife in a saber grip. And it just gives you this really nice indexing where you feel like you've got a good hold on the knife. And if you got to put some pressure down, you really have a good spot. And while it doesn't completely prevent your thumb from going forward, it's a good indexing point, and you really feel kind of locked into the knife. And yeah, aside from that, I wanted to have more than one deployment method, so I added the thumb studs to the blade. Now, little bit of behind the scenes story here. I had the thumb studs in a different location, and when I saw that Kubey had moved them, I was a little concerned and a little frustrated. I don't like when my original design kind of language or placement of objects is messed with by a manufacturer. I mean, why else consult me if, you know, you're going to change things? But truth be told, Kubey did a really good job because access to them is great. The tuning of the detent relative to the access of them is phenomenal. I mean, this thing thwacks open with such authority. The only knife that I think, like, even this borderline equals is actually my Chavez, right? Look at this. The momentum has almost the same level of thwack and authority as my frickin' Chavez. You know, and it's such a good feeling. It's one of the things that I love about the Chavez, and I love about the momentum. So they did a really good job, and, you know, they deserve all the credit, really, for dialing this in. Not only the position, because it is a little bit longer, a little bit further away from the pivot than I had initially planned, but the balance of the force necessary along with their dialing in of the of the detent really created something special. And honestly, it's one of the consistent compliments that we get about the Kubey momentum. Is just the thwackability of this is phenomenal. So props to them. Really, credit where credit's due. I'd love to take sole credit for that, but their work really, it shows the quality that Kubey can deliver, you know, truly. Now, the last element of this, and it's kind of a unique side to this, is the handle shape. It looks very simple, and there's a reason behind that. I particularly really like knives with neutral handle shapes. I don't like a lot of big swells and things like that. And you see that within my design language. However, I didn't want to do something completely straight like an Emerson A100. For one, it's been done. But two, there is an ergonomic advantage to having a slightly curved handle like this. And I'll show you. So generally speaking, we do like to have a curve here at the bottom of the knife. It just helps our fingers grasp it evenly. And if you look, you end up having your knuckles almost at the exact same plane all the way across, right? But now, if you look, for example, at the Chavez, it has that curvature, but he went with more of a straight back with a little bit of curvature right at the end here. And that, for me, is good, but it could be better. And that's where this continuous curve comes in. We generally use this muscle group and our ring finger and our pinky to exert a lot of our control over the blade. That's the nature of knives, right? But what I wanted to do was use the whole hand with the momentum to achieve control. So this curvature here of the handle matches the curvature from this point in your grip all the way down to here. And you feel that when you actually roll the knife into your hand. So you're actually getting no sort of like voids in your grip whatsoever. And the thing really has full control from your index finger to your pinky. And it gives you just a great sensation of absolute control and ownership over the knife and where is it going. Now, also, this curvature of the back here helps if you're going to use the knife in a pinch grip. So you see, it follows this natural curvature of the hand, and it allows you to really get in and do some fine work. Along with this belly, I'll use this thing for chopping up vegetables, chopping up fruit, etc. The neutral handle shapes in general, part of the reason why I like them is because they work in every single grip. If you want to do a reverse pull grip here, if you want to do a hammer grip, saber grip, even if you want to do an ice pick grip, it all works. If I'm 100% honest, the only grip where I don't feel that this is like super comfortable is the reverse ice pick. But reverse ice pick, in my opinion, is mainly for fighting knives, and this is not a fighting knife. It's not designed to be that way. It's designed as an EDC knife. And so, really, I feel kind of from the design parameters and what I wanted to achieve with this knife, we did an excellent job, both me and Kubey, between minor adjustments to the design here and there with, like, say, the thumb studs and making this a nice, affordable sort of setup. I think we really, really knocked it out of the park. So who do I think this knife is for? Honestly, I think it's for everybody. It is a bit on the heavy side. And if we do a version 2 of this for the budget line, what I really would like to see is for us to nest the liners into the G10. I don't think the knife should get any narrower, or any smaller. I do think the width versus height is perfect for the handle. If you're a guy like me, it just really feels good in the hand, feels really solid. I don't want it to shrink anymore. But I do prefer the aesthetic of a nested liner. I think it's just a little bit cleaner. This looks a little bit more kind of old school. And I think that really Kubey could do that very easily. And as a matter of fact, they did here with the RUCKUS, another one of my designs. This is a completely nested liner knife, as you can see there. So going forward, I would like to see that. I would like to see the continuation of the Kubey Momentum as just a really great, affordable, EDC knife. And really, I think it's a knife for genuinely everybody. It really fits everybody's hands, most people's needs. And I do think that if we could nest those liners a little bit, it would become a little bit lighter weight, just with a little bit less material. Let's keep the thwackiness. That's phenomenal. And what I'd really love to see is a premium version. Actually, a number of people have asked me if we could do a premium version. And I'm always down for that. I just, if you guys are interested, let Kubey know. Drop them a DM on Instagram and let them know that you want to see a premium version of this. And I think they'd be willing to make it. I mean, we did semi-premium version here with the RUCKUS, which turned out phenomenal. I think this is a really great interpretation of my design. Very comfortable, very usable, half tactical, half EDC knife. And we did a truly premium version of the VELOCE with the full titanium scales and the S90V. So Kubey definitely has the capacity to do it. So I think all you guys got to do is just let your voices be heard. But I think that'll be it, man. I think that's it for this, I designed a knife. I think this is episode 4, something like that. But the Kubey Momentum, check it out. It's available on Amazon, White Mountain Knives, and knifeglobal.com. If you guys are interested, there it is.